I got the notice, thanks. I don't need it.
No.
You know what? I'm gonna take one of these just in case I get hungry. You know. Two. They're small, right? Pretty good. Wow. Or no, no, no. That would be just take it and shake it upside down long. You mean?
Ardella passes along her condolences that she won't be here. Regrets, I should say.
Well, I hope she gets better soon. That's fortunate.
Okay, Heidi, are you ready?
Yep.
Cheryl?
Yep.
Don?
I am.
Phyllis? We'll call this meeting in order, and I mean, roll call when ready.
Goss here, Glenn,
Here.
Valmute,
Here.
Pop.
Here.
Bennett is absent.
Any conflicts, any changes to the meeting agenda this morning? Kind of hard to do without all of our members present. Any conflicts of interest this morning? Any public comment this morning?
Hooper. And I'd like to set the record straight for the township and for this board. I did not threaten to sue anyone. I am sick and tired of the lies, disinformation that is coming out of one chair over here. And I did, if I was gonna sue anybody, you would have heard from my attorney by now. There is discrimination going on in this township. I agree. But I did not threaten to sue anyone.
Any other public comment? So let's move into our agenda.
Excuse me. Can I comment, please?
Oh, I didn't see anybody out there in Zoom. Did you just get here?
Yeah,
Ah.
I did. Sorry.
Yeah, no,
Hi.
I just left. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Shannon Smith and I'm from Sanford, Michigan. And I am just inquiring, April 1st is coming up quickly. And that's typically when for 2024 seasonal camping requests would come in. I'm just inquiring what email address those requests should come into on April 1st. Now that Cheryl won't, because previously it had been Cheryl's email.
Camping.
So I may, if you
Ms.
don't
Smith-
have, go ahead.
Ms. Smith, you've got a pencil and paper. It would be camping, the @ whitewatertownship.org.
Okay, my husband's,
It's on the
.org.
website.
Yes.
okay, thank you.
It should be on the website.
Okay, I will check that out. Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you. I see another one now. Good morning, Vicky.
Oh, good morning, everyone. Sorry, I was actually a little late getting on here. I hope you guys have a great meeting this morning. I know that Don has his hands full with this very awkward transition that took place. I'm still a little surprised that there wasn't more assistance coming from Cheryl in this transition. There were a lot of years put through on her time, and it seemed to be quite the her baby of what she had taken care of. So I want to put it out there that a lot of us residents are willing to help in any way that we can in this transition. So please keep that in mind. And I'm looking forward to you guys getting some great people on board, and I'm getting the word out that we are needing staff. So thank you in advance and have a great meeting.
Anyone else out in Zoom land? One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. Nice. Okay, so we do have a phone call coming in at 9:15, so I have left my cell phone on. I think what I'll do is just put it on speakerphone, hold it up to the microphone, and we'll hear, I guess, about whatever the email issues are. Has yours been working better lately, Cheryl?
I'm not getting any bounce back messages.
Okay.
Can you just give me just a quick moment's background on who this person is? It is, he works for who? For
NetLink Services.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's what I
and
thought.
that's who we. have-
NetLink Business Solutions is the name of their company.
Okay,
We have had apparently an agreement with them to take care of our internet stuff.
Okay.
We have no formal agreement with Netlink. They're just a good company and they were used previous to 2012 and they've continued to be used. We don't have a contract with them.
And the person that's calling us is a technician or a
So I think.
representative?
Ron set it up. I don't
I
know.
think it's going to be both the branch manager and the technician Kelly Collins,
Okay,
which is you've been emailing any of your errors to. That should be the email address. Because we have about 9 minutes. You want to jump to business item number 2 and review the park manager resumes.
I would suggest we use the time.
I have a list of those that I want to call in for this particular position. Anybody else have a list?
I mean, yes, I've narrowed down to 4 candidates that I think would be. And again, you know, the resume is merely a snapshot in time and, you know, the rubber meets the road, so to speak, when the interview takes place and you can probe those questions. But on the surface, there are four candidates that I think, based on my evaluation of the resumes and what I think the park position needs, that I would rise to the top.
And do you have them listed by their file number or by their name?
I have them both ways.
Okay,
I have number 2, Andrew Butler. Number 10, Josh Hamilton. Number 12, Julie Bloomquist. And number 14, Michael Miller.
2, 10, 12, and 14.
2, 10, 12, and 14.
Cheryl?
My list is Bellinger.
What's the number?
I don't have that in front of me. Dan Bellinger, Dietz, and Graber.
Okay. Heidi?
I have some of the same already.
Heidi?
Do you want me to just repeat what I have?
Yep.
'Cause I have a couple, I have Graber, Josh,
Which one?
There's 2 Joshes.
10,
Is that Hamilton?
Yes, it
Yes.
is, Cheryl.
and Julie Bloomquist.
And it's number 12.
Got, yeah, I'm not gonna be putting the numbers in
Okay.
the minutes, just the names.
Okay.
And I have number 2, Butler. Number 12, Julie Bloomquist. Number 17, Dale Gilman.
That looks like 8 total.
Would agree with that count, Cheryl.
So I have Butler, Hamilton, Bloomquist, Miller, Ballinger, Dietz, and Garber. Who did I miss?
Graber.
Number 6, Graber.
No, Graber is the last one I mentioned. Deb.
Well, you said Garber.
Okay, whatever.
We have 2, Butler, Bellinger, Dietz,
Gilman, maybe?
Graber,
Is Gilman number 12?
Hamilton, Bloomquist, Miller, and Rand, Dale Gaiman,
Gilman,
Gaiman.
number 12. That's the one you're missing.
No, that
No, it's
12 is
Julie.
Bloomquist.
Is he 17?
Oh, I'm missing number 17. Yep, Dale Gilman.
GEHMAN.
So in the last couple of minutes here, do we want to streamline this list down a little further? By the number of people who selected each individual candidate, or
So
how do we want to do that?
Well, that's not how we've done it in the past. In the past, unless you're deviating from the past, is anytime we've had interviews for, zoning administrator, fire chief, whatever, the board chose, each person chose who they wanted to interview, and all the interviews were accommodated.
Well, a couple of these, and I don't mean to profile, but a couple of these live in Florida. I don't know how we're going to see, was it?
There's no one on my list that lives in Florida. I doubt if somebody in Florida is gonna relocate,
That was kind of my thought, yeah.
or anywhere else for that matter.
Here we go.
Actually, I don't see any of them that live in Florida that were chosen.
Miller,
One lives in Grand Haven.
yeah,
The other ones are all local.
still probably won't relocate.
I viewed him as transitional. I think that based on the resume, I think he's taken up residence there and as a transitional point. So looking at the workflow and the change of positions. I think that's, I mean, again, those are questions that if he's not relocatable, then he, should be just stricken from the list. So.
Well, he says he'll relocate. Good morning.
Hello, Ron. It's Bill and Kelly at Netley.
Hello, Bill and Kelly. You have Heidi here, Cheryl here, Don, and myself.
Heidi, Cheryl, Don, and yourself.
Yep.
Okay, so 4 people, all right? So, we just wanted to call, I guess, and follow up. We wrote kind of an executive summary and I emailed it to the people that you emailed that we were going to be calling in. Did you get that email yesterday? That was kind of an executive summary of the email State of the Union.
Yes.
Okay, so you got that. All right. So I don't know if you want to start there with that document to just kind of go through that. Is that, or do you want to start someplace else?
No, that's fine. This is really up to you to tell us how come we're still having trouble, right? And as of yes.
Probably just starting from scratch. So this is Bill, and then Kelly and I will each kind of take turns because he was the engineer on the project, so he can kind of explain some of the nuts and bolts as far as what he did, what he saw, and that sort of thing, and then just kind of the overview. I can start and then kind of turn things over to him when necessary.
Okay.
So basically, the history, or I guess kind of the reason and the troubles is kind of that first paragraph there. Ron had called us with regards to email not flowing from the supervisor whitewater@gmail.com. So to take a step back, there's a mix of domains that are being used by township officials, township staff, township employees, where some people are using kind of a free Gmail account and some people are using the whitewatertownship.org. So there's kind of disparate emails being used within the building. So Ron reported having issues. So they're basically just a free Gmail account. It's not a business account. It's just a Gmail account that you can get in kind of 30 seconds or a minute, signing up at Gmail. With those accounts, there's no support, very limited. You kind of get what you get. So when you use a free Gmail account, they literally have millions of them. So there's no, and you don't have a business account at Gmail, which they do have. You can do paid email and have Gmail hosted. But when you use a @gmail.com, it's kind of, there's really no ongoing support with it. So Ron reported that issue, that when he used the Gmail account and sent to Whitewater Township, there was bounce backs. So then Cheryl.
Just to be clear here, other Gmail users have the same issue. So it's not just my account, which might happen to be free, like maybe a million other ones.
Right. So the problem is the Gmail, the @email domain emailing the township, which is whitewatertownship.org. You just reported it to us, but yeah, it's a email wide, not just with your email. Good point. So Cheryl contacted us with kind of a different looking issue where she uses a whitewatertownship.org domain. So this is a different domain. This is a business domain. And Kelly, that's hosted where? That email is whitewatertownship.org. Spectrum. So that email and all of those email accounts for anyone in your organization using whatever ... at whitewatertownship.org, Spectrum hosts that email. Spectrum, formerly Charter. Cheryl reported she was getting bounce back messages from messages kind of going the other way from whitewatertownship.org to Gmail. So when Kelly kind of was presented with that, the thing that he had to try to figure out is, okay, it's kind of different mail flow, but is this the same problem? Because we have email trying to get from whitewatertownship.org to Gmail, and then Ron reported people couldn't send from Gmail to whitewatertownship.org. So that was kind of the reported, I guess, things. So then Kelly looked into it, and I'll let him kind of take over from there as the diagnostics, and he kind of can explain firsthand, you know, with those two reports, what he did, what he found, and take it from there.
Yeah, this is Kelly. Yeah, when what I did is I got hold of the email headers, which is basically the kind of the meat and potatoes behind an email message. It tells what server it goes through, what anti-spam, antivirus checking that it does. There's a lot of, you know, fairly technical routing information in the email headers. Anyway, within there, they also show any error messages or warnings or delays. And in both message types, either coming from Whitewater to Gmail or from Gmail to Whitewater, there were error messages that were showing that Gmail was not accepting Whitewater as a valid email host due to lack of an SPF record, which is a sender policy framework. Sender policy framework is what probably 80% of the email servers out on the internet use as a first line defense against anti-spam or email spoofing, where somebody's sending out email messages with what looks like your email address, but it isn't. Well, that's called a spoof. The SPF record tries to alleviate that by saying only certain senders can be or are authenticated to send for your particular domain. In this case, whitewatertownship.org.
So Kelly, just to clarify, just so I understand too, was there not an SPF record for the whitewatertownship.org?
No.
It didn't exist.
No, there is no record whatsoever on the DNS servers for whitewatertownship.org.
So SPF records, basically because that wasn't in place, Google saw that there wasn't an SPF record, and then
Well, there is another issue that found it.
yeah, so that was part of it. So I'm just clarifying that in the DNS records, there wasn't an SPF record in place. So okay, go continue.
Yeah, the other part of it is Charter / Spectrum. Their email services are all third-partied out to various providers, and have changed over the last 2 years to various people or companies out there that do it. The email hosts in this case have server farms. They rent out space on these server farms, and they have a block of IP addresses that these farms use. In the case of the block that Whitewater Township in is a block of 32,000 IP addresses. A lot of addresses. Somewhere in that block, there is an email server that was spitting out spam messages. Not necessarily Whitewater Township, but someone in the IP block that Whitewater Township belongs to. Google, they typically won't blacklist a specific IP address, they'll blacklist a block of addresses. Just, it's not gonna affect, it's easier for them to manage. Well, unfortunately, the blocks that Whitewater Township is in at Google for Gmail, they have that block listed as a spamming email block. And with most of the internet blacklists, you can go in and request your specific IP address range or ranges to be temporarily removed or whitelisted until if you have a spamming issue and you take care of it. With Gmail, there is no way to request your address to be delisted. They don't allow it. It's just a matter of time. If they're looking at that block of addresses and it stops sending spam out for X amount of days and they don't tell you how many, then it'll clear your IP address. If it still spams, it'll keep going and going and going, and there's no way to get Google to go and manually do it.
And just to reiterate, the spam isn't necessarily coming from a whitewatertownship.org. Your email being hosted by the third party that Spectrum uses, there could be literally thousands of different email domains on the same email server as you, and whatever business that you're kind of sharing space with, so the fault at which why Google has Whitewater Township as a shaky reputation, so to speak, and considers it spam, didn't necessarily come from someone within your organization. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. We really, but there's no way to know, because your current email host for whitewatertownship.org, is, as Kelly said, a big server farm. So knowing that isn't really, it's kind of a bit of a moot point, because the more so is trying to remediate it with Google. So that's what Kelly tried to do, was to say, hey, Google, everything's okay here and clear here, and it's a legitimate, domain that's not sending out spam, and Google does not have a way to be able to remediate that. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kelly, that's why basically the bounce backs that they're seeing are back and forth between Gmail, because it's not a blacklist scenario. It's more so just within Google's own.
It's Google's own anti-spam system.
So that's why it's affecting basically communications to and from Gmail accounts.
Yeah, if your domain was on a normal internet blacklist, like Spamhaus or something like that, there's about 150 main blacklists out on the internet. If your domain itself was on a blacklist, you would be having problems with Microsoft or Yahoo. I mean, anybody you send emails to that checks those blacklists would be refusing your email. But seeing it's not a public blacklist that you're on, but an internal email reputation list, I guess you could call it. That's why it's only affecting Gmail communications back and forth.
So that's kind of what Kelly found as he dug into the issue. And so then once he found that, then the actions he took to try to correct the SPF or the DNS records were the next step. So you can kind of say what you did and kind of worked with Carol and the DNS provider.
Yeah, your current DNS provider, they provide support via email. In other words, when you want to make a change or deletions or any kind of modifications, Carol sends an email to the hosting provider. They
Who is the
process
hosting provider?
Name secure.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I wondered who the hosting provider was.
Name secure.
Yeah, name secure. Yeah. They host your DNS servers and also your domain name. So anyway, so we sent a request for the known IP addresses that your email server is using. Normally, I can contact an email host, in this case Spectrum. I could contact them and ask them what their SPF IP ranges are. I could not get that information, that specific information from Spectrum.
They wouldn't provide it.
their techs had no idea what it was. So,
And again, that goes back to Spectrum isn't really hosting the email anymore like they used to. So Spectrum kind of switched their business model where they used to host the email actually on Spectrum servers, but they've now farmed out email hosting to a third party. So it's creating another layer of manageability with your email, because it was hard enough before trying to get answers from Spectrum, but now they're trying to answer for somebody else who really ultimately hosts the email. So when you're trying to find an answer to a problem, when you use Spectrum, they've created another layer of complexity and difficulty in managing your email, because when you call Spectrum, they really don't know, because it's like, oh, is there more than one third party host that they've kind of found out?
yeah, I'm sure they've got 3 or 4 of them out there that are helping.
So Kelly tried to get that information, because to correct this problem in a normal situation, you call the email provider says, yep, put in these entries for your SPF records, this IP address through this IP address. And once that propagates, and then Google then sees your SPF records, they don't see any more spam, that's the resolution. So where Spectrum kind of missed the mark or wasn't able to help us was to give us a definitive range. You know, Kelly can't put a range in of 32,000 IP addresses on your SPF record. You got to be more specific than that.
Seems to me
Yeah,
like
well,
that
wait.
information should come from name secure.
No, it does not come from name secure. It has to come from your email host. It's the IP addresses that are concerned here are the IP addresses of the devices, in this case, email servers, that are actually sending the email message out for you. It's not your DNS provider or anything like that. All they do is they host your DNS servers. You put in whatever records you want in there. That's all they do. They host them.
Okay.
So, and then when you ask Spectrum really doesn't know, because they really don't have those email servers in-house anymore. They're kind of farmed out to a third party. So to give us that accurate, concise information, it wasn't available from them, and they weren't able to provide it.
So as a fallback, what I did is I added the IP addresses that were known to me from previous message headers that have been sending email out, you know, for your domain, for the whitewatertownship.org. That helps some of the messages, but it doesn't. It's not an all-inclusive. Like your email provider may be using a block of 64 IP addresses, which is not too unusual, to send email out from, you know, could be 15, 20, 30 server firms out there. It all depends. Your email may go out of, you know, any of those different servers, but it's all hosted by one particular company, one block of IP addresses. Normally, I would put that block address in your SPF record, and it would be happy. It says that block of address is authorized to send email from this, and nothing else is going to send email from this. So if you see an IP address that isn't in this block, mark it as spam or mark it as questionable. Well, with the addresses that I have, they tend to change. So the first 4 or 5 addresses or emails that I have had 3 different IP addresses in. So I put those 3 addresses in. That helped a little. The next one had a different address. So you had that address, but you know, it doesn't help a lot because there's just so many other addresses that it could be using. So it just bounces around, and it's random as to what IP address it's going to use, but it'll always be in that one particular block. But that's the information that I could not get, is that block. So I just had to try to Easter egg it. And it's just with the way that your DNS providers are, to make a change, you send an email, and 1 to 2 days later, they respond back saying that, okay, we'll change that in 1 to 2 days. So, to make one change is, up to 4 days waiting for that change to go in. With most DNS providers for our customers, they have admin login access, we can directly change DNS records. So the change, could take 1 or 2 hours. So it's a lot more efficient. With just email support, it makes it a little bit more difficult, a little more time consuming to make one change. And even if I did that, just by looking at email headers, which addresses come through, it's not saying it's gonna have all the addresses that it needs. So it's not stable. You could have 2/3 of the addresses okay, but the other third, haven't been used yet. They hit it, boom, now spam again. So.
And then that kind of goes to what Kelly put as the listing for the first result. And then the second result, number 2, Kelly, you can explain that one.
Was that?
The second result, number 2, under result.
Oh, yeah, that's the way that Google does its anti-spam reputations internally is basically they have, well, it sounds strange, but they have servers out there called honeypots. And what they are is they're email servers that monitor the web traffic. And if they get unsolicited email from particular addresses, they mark that in a database as probable spam messages. That's typically, if you have a system that's sending out spam, they'll send out 15, 20,000 emails to various types of addressing throughout the net, just trying to get somebody to respond. Well, when these email servers at Google start picking up this spam messages, that marks against your internal reputation at Google. When it stops seeing that, then it starts unmarking it. So it's kind of like a bell curve. It goes up and then it comes back down as long as the spam stops. Well, the only way for that reputation to clear inside Gmail is time-based. It looks at that database, it's all automated. As long as it doesn't see anything for what it thinks your IP addresses are, then it'll clear your IP address that's related to your domain name.
And then just to take a step back again, it does not mean that your reputation at Google is being hurt by mail sent by whitewatertownship.org. There could be another email domain on the same server that you're using from this Spectrum third-party contractor that has a spam issue, and you could be ill-affected by their, again, it's not saying it's coming from you. So your mail host or mail provider, ultimately on their inner workings is extremely important. Because you could possibly be being lumped in with them because of who Spectrum has ultimately hosting your email boxes. So again, your reputation at Google could be adversely affected in a couple weeks, 10 days, 2 weeks, a month, because of another domain that's sharing your IP address, and they could have a problem there. So, and it's there's no way to mitigate that with that third-party host. So that's why in the action item, we recommended moving away from Spectrum hosting your email, the whitewatertownship.org, to having it hosted at Microsoft 365. So that's kind of the who, what, where, when of the history over the last, 30 days, let's say, if that's how long, since our first calls from Ron and Cheryl. So then the recommended steps, basically there's no foreseeable way to repair basically the way that Spectrum's hosting it through a third party. And then, like Kelly said, with your DNS host and kind of that layer of manageability where it takes, you put in a request, they say they'll get to it, it's a day or two later, you're having issues, they make the change, then it replicates, within 24 hours, and all of a sudden it's 4 days later. So that's why on the first recommended step was actually to change your DNS host from Who's hosting it, Kelly? Who's the, you said it was,
it took a blank there. That's,
Name secure.
Name Secure. Sorry, I had TrueHost stuck in my brain and it doesn't want to go away.
okay, so that's the first recommended thing in the way that you do that is basically is move your DNS records to somebody else that you can have more so immediate access to your DNS records rather than, submitting a request, waiting 2 days, they post the request, and then you wait 24 hours for that request to propagate. So it's just real inefficient.
So who do you
The second-
recommend for number one?
We usually use either Network Solutions or possibly GoDaddy or, there's quite a few DNS host providers out there that are very reliable, but those are the two that we usually use.
And then basically when those are moved to a different DNS provider, then us as a technical support company has a technical administrative login, so we can log in and do the DNS change. So then, we have a service account, so to speak, to the DNS records, so we can just go in there and make the change. That's what's recommended.
What does it
The
look
second-
like on the outside? So for example, what will Sally Citizen see differently?
None. It's totally,
It's all behind the scenes.
Okay,
yeah, it's totally transparent to the average end user. Your DNS hosting provider, who hosts your website, who hosts your domain name. That's all pretty much transparent behind the scenes, like Bill said.
okay,
Because basically what DNS is ultimately is DNS is a traffic cop. So the DNS just points and tells how email gets places, how people get to your website when they type in your domain. So the DNS is really transparent. Nobody sees DNS. It just works in the background. And if you have a reputable DNS provider like Network Solutions or GoDaddy or something like that, and not saying the current one isn't reputable, it's just tough to manage when you put in a request to them and, well, we'll get to it in a couple days, and then they get to it in a couple days, and then it takes 24 hours to propagate, and it's just real clunky. So everyone that we support, we have a technical account to the, and that's not possible, I don't think, with the current provider where we can get a login, administrative login to, change or adjust DNS when needed. It's also then recommended, the second recommendation is not to use two different email domains. Don't use free Gmail accounts. And there's multiple reasons for that. Security, compliance, manageability, support, reliability. So to discontinue using Gmail accounts and everyone use the whitewatertownship.org and then move the email hosting away from Spectrum because it's super difficult to manage it the way that they've kind of farmed out their email servers to a third party and move those over to Microsoft hosted 365 accounts.
so
we've had-
let's stop
including
right
our-
there for a second. So to be clear, the reason we have Gmail accounts is because this happened to us in 2021. And that could be likely when Charter started farming some of their email services out. And that, that's when my Gmail account was set up. We couldn't get answers then either.
Yeah,
So
it's like,
how
we've
much,
been through that, yeah.
Yeah, we've had multiple customers and
We've moved a lot of people off it.
yeah, and actually many townships, for whatever reason, a bunch of townships that we work with use Spectrum, and I can think of 3 or 4 that we moved off of Spectrum / third-party email hosting because you can't get answers, you can't get manageability, you can't get support, you can't get answers to your questions. They kind of got out of the email business, but didn't get out of the email business. So Spectrum used to have email servers and they had Spectrum employees maintaining them. So it was a little better.
Yeah, when they changed over it, we went down.
Yeah, so it's,
Okay,
right.
so
And that was about that timeframe.
to.
So moving,
To get to number one, which hopefully, what does that take as far as dollars? And how fast can it be done?
okay, so for
Or does
number
this have to
one,
be all done at once?
the number one is the first step to do, and the answer to that question is contingent upon your domain authority.
What does that
So,
mean?
And what I mean by that is for your domain, for Whitewater Township domain, whitewatertownship.org, all domains have an administrative and a technical contact for the domain itself, for the registered domain. Who we would need to know who that is, and then we can tell you how long it's going to take to move it to somebody else.
How do we, Cheryl, are you the registered?
I have always, the clerk before me was the person, and basically all you do is go in and renew it, the service. It is up for renewal April 21st, so this needs to happen before April 21st. Otherwise, we will not have our .org, .net or .com domains.
Whoever renewing the domain name, we need to log into that account and just, because I can't give you an answer until we see who the administrative contact is, who the technical contact is. Who do you renew the domain with? What entity?
Name secure,
Also name secure? Yeah.
yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't hear that, sorry.
So basically, we just need to log in and see if she has rights to be able to release the domain for transfer.
So we would need to log into the name secure login if you have a login.
Yeah, I have that.
Okay.
Yeah, I should still have that, Cheryl.
So
Yeah, I
check
thought
that.
I gave
I
that to
can
you.
provide you an answer to that after we look into it further, Ron, as far as we need to see who the administrative contact is for your domain and the technical contact, and that should be listed at name secure.
So obviously, I guess it would be Cheryl at this point. I don't,
No, not necessarily. Now, that's a login to get into name secure,
Right.
but we don't, what I'm specifically asking is the domain person of record. No, yeah, so just because she has a login to name secure, because Kelly, you're talking there's a login to name secure. That does not mean you're the administrative or the technical contact for the domain name.
okay,
That's just saying you have a login to manage the domain at name secure.
gotcha.
Two different things.
Okay,
But we do have access to, if she's not, we do have access.
So we don't know who's listed.
And if she's not, that's not a major issue. We can request release of the domain from their tech support. It just takes them a few days to do anything.
That is the first thing to do, number one, and you make sure that everything is rock solid on number one in transition and propagated across the internet, and that you have your new DNS host established and the website is working and email is working. Then you move on to the rest of the
okay.
you move on to the rest of the numbers after number one is kind of finalized, done, and kind of put to bed. And then you can continue on with the rest of the list.
Can you give us an idea of cost? Are we looking at 1,000, 2,000, 100,000?
So number one is typically just kind of a labor portion to so sometimes depending on the complexity of it, that can be a 2 to 6 hour project just for number one.
Okay,
And that's just labor. So there's really no parts or pieces or other costs besides labor.
so if we
Once
got you a
number
purchase order today, we could begin working on number one.
Sure. Yes.
Board,
Yep. And then
what do you think?
Kelly, the only thing you would need for that is, which you have, is the login credentials for name secure. Yeah, so there's basically a little bit more investigative work. So yeah, so it's a 2 to 6 hour project to move the DNS. Then your email is still hosted at Spectrum. That project on moving from Spectrum / their third-party host over to Microsoft can be how many email boxes would you need for the township, or do you have for the township currently? You know, counting Gmail boxes, counting whitewatertownship.org, how many email boxes do you have, and would there need to be hosted at Microsoft?
Well, before we go to that step, a question I have is most governmental entities are using the .gov extension.
Yeah, a number of our townships have switched to .gov. Yes.
So does that affect your recommendation of going to Microsoft 365?
No, Microsoft, we have a number of townships that use the .gov and use the .gov with Microsoft hosting it. So yes, we've done transitions for townships that have switched from their current domain to the .gov. Yeah. And yes, there's definitely a propensity for a number of our townships to do that, and Microsoft can host your domain. Do you currently have a .gov registered?
No.
Okay, so they would move to Microsoft, get the .gov squared away, then add the .gov to Microsoft and the transit in the email address.
Yeah. So
I think I'd like to make
that.
I think I'd like to make the switch all at once.
Yeah, so the first part, number one, still does not solve your email flow problem with Gmail, because your email still is hosted at Spectrum / their third-party host. So number one is kind of a preliminary step of basically getting more manageability and control of your DNS. Then once that's shored up, then you can work on moving your email away from Spectrum to 365. So I just wanted to be clear that number one doesn't help this email issue. Ultimately, the email flow issue with Gmail will start to get rectified once you move away from the Spectrum hosting.
So I didn't understand that during the original explanation. What I understood is that you couldn't get in touch with NameSecure, who is our host. Therefore, you could not implement the changes necessary.
No, we implemented the changes we could. We just couldn't get the answers from Spectrum of what numbers to put in at NameSecure. So Spectrum said, well, basically it's one of 32,000 IP addresses, and we can't put that in at NameSecure. So ultimately, it's an issue with the Spectrum hosting and who they farmed it out to. That Spectrum cannot give us specific information as what to put in the SPF records when we make the DNS changes at NameSecure.
The reason for moving your DNS off NameSecure is one, pretty much just of manageability and support. You know, just the response time at NameSecure is a bit.
It's basically just something to do. If you're going to do this, it's a good first step so that it's more manageable in the future. It does not fix the email flow problem, but if you're going to get better reins on your email manageability and more of an enterprise class management scenario, you want to have control of your DNS for a multiple of reasons, besides just email flow. So, but
Cheryl has a question.
No, I don't have a question. I have a statement.
Couldn't quite hear you. Can you?
I'm moving closer. So Kelly was advised of this a couple weeks ago, and just to tell, just to say, Kelly has provided me, because NameSecure would not deal directly with Network Business Solutions. Kelly, through the course of all this process, has provided me with, I believe, at least 3 SPF record additions / changes that were forwarded to Name Secure. And then they would reply, yes, we'll have those changes. We'll notify you when those changes are done. And usually it was a day or so later. But we do have an urgency with getting the DNS moved off of Name Secure, because that expires on April 21st. So right now with Name Secure, they have our .org, .com, and .net domains, which we don't want to lose any of those, even though we might not be using like the .net or something. But there is an urgency to that first step. So I'm going to recommend that we, give NetLink whatever they need to do, purchase order, whatever, give them the authority to get that done. If they need some help from me, that's fine. But we need to get that done. That's the first step. And then we can worry about getting off Spectrum, but we've got to get this DNS thing handled first.
And just to reiterate, a big thing that I don't know when in giving this time estimate is it is the of your domain or of your domains, because you have 3 domains, right? So
Yeah.
So you have whitewatertownship.org, whitewatertownship.com, and .net.
Yes.
The time element is greatly affected by who the current administrative and technical contact is listed at the registrar of those domains. So that's the first piece to uncover, which tells us how easy or complex this is going to be based on who is listed as the administrative contact. So I'll be able to, as far as cutting POs and now knowing that there's 3 domains, I can have Kelly look at that today. If he can get that information from Name Secure and logging in and seeing your 3 domains, then I can tell you exactly what it's going to take and how complex it is based on who's listed as not with Name Secure, but like this domain, every domain has an administrative root contact and a technical contact. So I really need to see who that is for all 3 domains.
Well, if Kelly's got the login information, why don't you do it right now? Or is that a long process?
No, I just have to go. I'm not in my office right now. I'm over at Bill's office, so I mean, I could.
And whatever it is, they're going to start the process, I believe, of requesting whatever they have to do with this administrative person and technical person. I have no idea who this is. It might be me. I don't know. I have no idea who it is. So I would, I think we just need to let them get that process started as quickly as possible. And they can let us know, but we just give them the authority to go ahead and get that going. And I'm going to be in, the rest of the day till 5. And if there's some assistance needed for me, I'll be happy to help. But I do know Kelly has the login for that. And I think we just need to get that going.
There's different contacts and here's an old email that's a technical contact. Well, that email doesn't exist and this person isn't here anymore. And I just didn't want you cutting a PO until I can get you the information here this morning. But I just need to have Kelly look at it for 15, 20 minutes and look at all 3 domains and look who that is. And then I can give you a more accurate assessment on what it would take to do number 1. That's what I guess. I just didn't want to know, but also knowing that there's 3 domains, that also could add a layer on it, depending on if the administrative and the technical contact is the same. Now, if it's different for all 3 domains, I don't know, but we'll find out and let you know this morning more of an accurate figure of what it would take to do number one.
Mr. Glenn has a question.
I'm thinking it's already been answered, but I just want to double check. So moving from name secure over to either somebody like Network Solutions or GoDaddy does not remove us from Charter at this point. We'll change that. We'll still be going through Charter, Spectrum Charter, and then the move from that would happen in subsequent steps, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. I got it then.
Yeah, the DNS is just a root change for scalability and, a more effective management of the DNS.
Right, okay,
During the moves from your current email provider to Office 365, there's a good amount of DNS changes that goes back and forth between Microsoft and your DNS server. And if you had a 4-day wait between each one, it would not be good.
yeah, and that's what we're dealing with now. So,
Yeah.
I guess, Bill and Kelly, when you find out who the administrators are and the technical advisors are of those three domains,
Yeah.
just,
Yeah, that will clear it up for us as far as knowing what number one's gonna take. And number 4 through 7 is all kind of one project. And that project, again, we've done a number of these. It varies a little bit, but that can be a 20 to 30-hour project, depending on size of email boxes, number of email boxes. So that second phase in actually getting the email away from Charter, moving it to Microsoft, creating everything at Microsoft, is about a 20 up to a 30-hour project, again, depending on size of mailboxes and how many mailboxes. So the first part is kind of a preliminary step, and then steps 3 through 7 is really those all kind of happen together and at one time once number 1 is shored up. And then Microsoft, you do have a choice. You can get just email only boxes, and those are about $5 per month with Microsoft. Or you can get, for people that use Microsoft Office, you can get a Microsoft 365 that includes email as well as a license to use the Microsoft Office suite. So you don't have to buy Microsoft Office in the future for people that need Microsoft Office on their computer. And so you can even do a mix. So if people just need an email box only and they don't need a license to use Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, those are $5 a month with Microsoft. For accounts that want and need Microsoft software to use, then those are $15 a month. And that's a monthly fee. And Microsoft has multiple other options and more Microsoft 365 accounts, but those are what most customers or businesses your size fall into, is either a $5 a month email only account or a $15 a month account that includes licensing to be able to use Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Now, if you just recently have PowerPoint, or if you have very new versions of Microsoft Office, you can just get the email only account. You know, if it's like, oh yeah, we just bought Microsoft Office, in the last 2 years for everybody. Okay, then there's probably not a need to do the $15 a month. And you can have a mix. If you're like, hey, the board members that don't work in the office just need an email only account, you can get $5 a month accounts. But these 6 people that have computers at the office would like the $15 a month. So you can have a mix.
okay. We didn't plan on that. Because I don't think we currently pay for email hosting at Charter, do we? Or is it covered in the cable bill?
Yeah, you'll pay for it if it's a business account.
I think it's Spectrum though, you do.
They give you a few addresses, but if you have more than a few, typically they do add email costs onto the bill, but I couldn't really say without looking at the bill, you know.
Several
Yep.
years ago, we wanted to add a number of email addresses, .org email addresses, and we upgraded our account with them in order to do that.
Yeah, so yeah, in a way you're paying for it, it's just in the subscription, basically you're paying the charter.
Yeah, so your email costs per month will be $5 per email box per email box. And again, if you want people to have the Microsoft Office to be able to use, you know, like if you look at your computers and you're like, oh wow, we're running some really old versions of Microsoft Office on our computers, like 2013, 2016.
And 16 is not too old.
You know, you could consider getting the other subscription with Microsoft where you can load and have a license to be able to use the Microsoft Office.
Any other questions, board?
I don't have any.
I do not. I've had mine answered here.
So will you give us send the email to all the board members so we're up to speed on this?
Yeah, so what email addresses are those so we get them the right one?
Clerk@whitewatertownship.org.
Okay.
You send it to trustee02@whitewatertownship.org.
Trustee 02. is that
Zero, I'm sorry. Yes, 02.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the second one.
Mine is supervisor Whitewater Gmail.
Mine is Heidi V, your trustee at Gmail.
I didn't catch that one. The third one.
And tell him, he probably can't hear me.
The fourth one.
Heidi V, your trustee at gmail.com.
It's on your website.
Yeah, treasurer.
Yeah, you can.
The word Heidi, HEIDI. Letter V as in Victor.
Yeah.
YOUR, your. Trustee, TRUSTEE @gmail.com.
Okay, that's, excuse me, Hotel, Echo, India, Delta, India, Victor, Yoke, Oscar, Uniform, Romeo, Tango, Romeo, Uniform, Sierra, Tango, Echo, Echo @gmail.com.
Roger.
And Kelly also,
Roger.
and Kelly or Bill, also you should send this email to treasurer@whitewatertownship.org. Please.
Okay. So Cheryl, if Kelly has any access questions into the login or whatever, he'll call you directly. Then once he sees kind of the who, what, where, when with your 3 domains, we'll provide more of an accurate estimate for doing number 1 on the recommended steps. Then once number 1 is done and transitioned and rock solid, then basically the whole email transition over to Microsoft and everything that entails for number 3 through number 7 would be the second phase of the project once everything's propagated with number 1.
Yep, and will you include who the record holders are, either administrative or technical for those 3 domains? Include that right with your email to all board members.
Sure, yeah, not a problem.
Okay, well, thank you for your time this morning.
Yeah, Kelly will get on this morning. And then as soon as he has kind of results and answers, and we'll send it to all those related emails, addresses that you gave us, as well as who are the administrative and technical contacts for all 3 domains.
Sounds good. And,
All right, thank you
yep,
very much.
thank you much. Bye-bye.
Yeah, good talking to you. Bye now.
So it sounds like we should probably have this on our review list every so often. Somewhere, I can see where maybe Carol Hawken is still listed as the contact, right?
She may very well be.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
so,
I don't even know where to find that information in there. All I do is go in every 3 years. I used to renew it every year and then I thought, well, that's crazy. And so I started doing it every 3 years and so it needs to be renewed or we're not going to renew it now. So we know that. And,
okay. Well, it looks like we've got more information on that coming back. I think maybe what we need to think about here is how many boxes we might actually want. And so, we can do a quick head count of what we've got, but that may not include any expansion. What do we do in case of like our surveys, for example, right? We use a Gmail for that. Will we still use Gmail on certain items like that? I mean, what's the board
it's gonna
think?
be an issue. I don't know why you would use it.
Well,
It's unreliable.
Gmail is not unreliable.
Well, it is in this environment. You
Be-
heard them say they have business accounts. You're not using business accounts. They're not supported, blah, blah, blah. He named off all the reasons why personal Gmail addresses should not be used. But the Parks and Rec survey.
To accept them. Right?
Well, yeah, I get that. But anyways, I think we just need to get the information and from them and get this DNS thing done. Of course, has to be done right away and then they can tell us how much the other stuff's gonna cost and PO gets issued and they get busy on it.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't remember exactly how many email addresses we have. I know we wanted to make sure we had at least 25 because remember, we made 6 email addresses for the PC. Not all of them will use those email addresses. But the ones who will are using them. And then Tim Aarons has asked for a .org email address. So, I'll have to do that. So I can't remember how many. We have at least 20, 25, something like that. .org. Because remember, you got deputy treasurer, deputy clerk. Gosh, what else? Historical. Fire's got a couple. Township board's got 5, PC's got 6.
What's your opinion, Cheryl? Let's say we've got 20. How do you feel like we bump up against that ceiling at all? Having 20 or 25 addresses? Do you ever feel like you have to delete one or
What?
move one around to
No.
add one in? So
We never-
there seems to be cap space for
Yeah,
right
there's
now.
5. Well, that was the other thing we did. We didn't have very much room.
Mhm.
And I think we had 1 gig or something like that. I don't remember gigs or megs or whatever now, but anyways, I think we went to like 5 megs or 5 gigs.
And it was 5 gigs.
For
per-
each mailbox.
Mhm.
So everybody's got a lot of room
Mhm.
in their mailbox. And as far as the 5 or the 15, I'll be a $5 because I already have all the Microsoft programs that I want. And, some of those were renewed not that long ago. So,
I guess I didn't, thank you for that information, but I don't
Yeah.
think I answered my question very
oh,
well.
right. Okay.
So I'm saying if we have, there's 6 on the PC and 5 on the board of trustees and let's say that we have 25 distinct email addresses we can use.
Yeah.
My question was, have we maxed out against that number at any point in
I
time?
can't remember.
Okay,
It-
but,
No,
I-
I would have had to bring that to the board if we did.
okay, so,
So, yeah, because that would have been an additional expense.
okay,
And so,
Okay.
I don't
So-
think we're maxed out. We
so-
might be close though.
yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
Just as a quick straw poll. I think we ought to spend a couple minutes just talking that through a little bit deeper because my suspicion is that with an April 21st contract date with,
Name secure.
Name secure, that's going to be upon us very quickly. And depending on, that will, albeit of the first step, we're still with Spectrum, but the question still becomes of the stability of that Spectrum platform. And then how quick, will we move on items 3 through 7? That seems to be a package deal. And my suspicion is that will move pretty quickly. And I think the last thing I really would like to do, not to do, is having to be disjointed, everybody in four corners of the earth trying to figure out how many separate distinct emails that we would want. I would feel better if we just kind of talked it through and came up with maybe a range. If 25 is what we currently have today, and we're not bumping against that, but just by quickly doing some, rolling my mind around on that, I can get to 25 probably pretty quickly, which doesn't allow us for any expansion. Whether there's a survey at Whitewater Township.org,
No, there is not.
no, right, I'm
Right.
saying, but, is that something we should be considering?
Right.
I,
And I think that can be a topic at the next meeting. They need to get this DNS thing done. They're going to give us a price on getting that done yet today. Then they're gonna get us a price on this other stuff. And in the meantime, I can look and see how many email addresses we currently have. Because I do not remember off the top of my head how many .org email addresses we currently have, but we can get that information before they'll have a quote back to us.
so a quick follow-up on that question. So, what you just said, so when we say that we have, and I'm just picking the number, and I know it's not, let's say we have 25 email addresses, is that all in the .org domain? Because
Yes.
it's not the
No.
.net, .com are
No.
completely separate counts.
Right, but we aren't really using those,
Right.
but typically when people get a domain name, they get those 3 in order that no one else
Mhm.
can get those and use them and then have confusion out there between, oh, are you a .com, a .org? a
So the
.net?
.com and the .net are really just in our desk drawer at this point.
They are,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
From my understanding, I've never used those domains. I don't believe anybody has used those, but they're just to make them
Okay,
sure that no one else, you have to
Claims
pay
them.
for them to make sure no one else can get them.
So
Okay.
just kind of maybe to set your mind at ease, I've written down this question. So I do recall, and I think it was around 2017, 2019, maybe, where we added all of the PC emails. With Charter, we were allowed X number for free. And then if we went above that, the next level was 25 emails.
Something like
boxes.
that.
And it also increased the storage space from megabytes to gigabytes, okay? So every time we got 100 emails, we didn't have to go in and empty our inbox at the Charter service, okay? Here, we may be able to add a single email box.
Mhm.
So if we decided we only need 12, $60 a month, and then all of a sudden we forgot Janice, she needs one. Then we'll add one email.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe it's a range like Charter had.
Right.
We're thinking this 25 number is got to be decided. I'm not sure it does right now.
Oh,
No,
I'm
it
not,
doesn't.
I'm not suggesting that we decide that 25. I just was trying to say that if they move on to steps 3 by 7, they're going to come at us and ask how many,
Yes,
how many do
yes,
we
they
want?
will.
And I'm just,
Yeah.
well, it's not a topic of discussion. I was just bringing it up to say, what does that look like? And how we approach it is fine. The worst case scenario is this changes over and we go dead in the water, we go dark. And so
My Gmail account won't be dark.
so, no, it won't. And neither will mine.
Or else still be
Okay,
cooking.
so
I'm covered.
I'm comfortable taking the step back on that. We'll get there.
Heidi, any questions?
Nope.
I mean, right off the top that I can think of, there's 17.
Hmm.
But there could be ones that are very infrequently used that that are out there. I just don't remember.
Sure.
But well, I have that information.
Well, for example, I'm sure that Mike Jacobson probably has an email address assigned to him at the planning commission. But
He doesn't use that one though. He uses a
His mail is forwarded from
That one.
that .org address to the address he has chosen.
oh, I didn't even know he used email. So.
He does,
He
it goes
does.
to his wife,
He does.
goes to his wife and he reads
Oh,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
All you gotta do is call him and say, hey, read your email. He reads it.
okay. Didn't realize that. Okay.
But there's 6 PC email addresses, so I added that in to my count.
Sure.
There's 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess we are back to, park folks. So we've got 8, we want to call them all in, is that kind of the thought? That's gonna be.
That's
at
what
least-
we've done.
At least 2 days.
Yeah, that's what we've done in the past is everybody got to interview who they wanted. So if they're all still interested.
The process of how this works in the governmental world.
It is a
I-
little strange.
I know how I'd handle it. It'd be done by. now.
I know, so
So
maybe
I'm going to have to
here.
defer to what process is and how this works around
Hang on,
here. So,
hang on, it gets better.
so.
So let's look at our calendar then and see what's available.
Why just 1 or 2 can't interview and then let us know. I have no clue.
What's that, Heidi?
I said, I don't know why 1 person or 2 people couldn't do this as a team and then get back to us, but okay.
Well, okay. So,
Well, then not everyone has the benefit of all the interviews is.
I'm not telling you not to interview them. If you want to interview them, go right ahead, but if I don't know, it was supposed, see, I'm used to corporate land, so this is like, how do you got to get all these people here in these 2 days, in whatever 2 days we pick. So it just doesn't make any common sense. I mean, if you want to interview them, call them in on so that you're coordinating 13 people then?
so Heidi, are you?
I would rather take a synopsis of, I don't really need to interview anyone. I mean, I'd rather take it from. I don't know, I'm just used to people taking over projects and doing their own thing and then let you know what they think, but apparently we can't, we have to all do this, so, okay.
No, Cheryl said historically, this is how we do it. But what I heard you say is maybe, are you recommending, I have 2 ideas. Are you recommending a committee, a subcommittee that gets
No.
together and then that interviews?
No,
Or are you recommending, then the second idea I got from the last part of your statement was that maybe we hold interviews with these people in individual offices those people who want to interview them can interview.
There you
them,
go.
And then we come up with our recommendations of 1 through 5 or 1 through 8 in this particular case.
Cause
And-
this could take forever if you're trying to schedule all these people to interview with the 5 of us. They're gonna get
How
a
are we
2-day.
going to do interviews in offices?
Well,
I might not do it on your, schedule an interview here, these 3 people, this person wants to interview, call them up, schedule a time. This will be interesting. Say you're gonna do this. You have maybe 7, 8 candidates and 5 of us. So now everybody has to get on the same page, pick one day, y'all gotta come in. Well, what if this person can't? What if one person can't?
I'm gonna weigh in on that. I don't know what the previous practice of the board was, but in a group interview like this, and I've done these for store managers, and we've set up a day and we set up multiple candidates, 6 or 8, and it spanned the course of 2 days. The options were, these are the slots available, and if you
Right.
can't make it, thank you for your interest.
Right,
And so
right.
I know that sounds cold and hard, but to keep the process moving along, sometimes that's necessary because you could drag this out for a couple weeks, and I don't know
I
that.
totally agree with that.
I don't know if it's
You
fair
just
to,
pick the time. Typically, what we did was we allowed 1 hour per interview. And then we had a half hour. We didn't really want anyone sitting in on anyone else's interview. We allowed like half an hour, but it could be less than that, before the next candidate would arrive. And then we had 1 hour and then maybe 15 minutes or whatever, and then you have another one, and you just work through them like that. I don't see why that's so complex. And also, to me, where's the transparency into dragging someone off into someone's office and, oh, well, 3 of us want to be there and 2 don't. We don't have any offices here where we can really have a comfortable conversation with, or some maybe 4 want to be there. To me, to be transparent, it needs to be done at a formal meeting. And that is how we have always done it. And that is the transparent way to do it. And you want to only allow 45 minutes for an interview, you only want to allow half an hour for an interview. But that's probably not enough time, because maybe everybody is going to have some questions and they should be allowed to ask their questions, because we will all learn from each other's questions of what they ask the candidate. So I say we choose, or I would recommend that we pick a day or a day and a half here or something, somewhere along the way, and we get these scheduled.
So the only thing that's kind of clunky with how we have done this process in the past is that when we schedule these interviews back to back to back, sometimes interviewees show up early. And so they have an idea of how the previous interview went. And so what is the board?
Cause it's an open meeting, right?
yeah, I'd like to just weigh in on that, because from an observation standpoint, when the board was conducting interviews last December for the chair that I now sit in, you had a set time, and the questioning was good, and it was in most cases extensive. I think that they went at a solid 45 minutes, if not an hour. I did, and my recollection was that there was a half an hour scheduled between. Now, in my mind, a good interview candidate is going to show up early. And so scheduling that, half hour really cut that down to, 15 minutes maybe. And I think that's where they got that bleed over of people listening. Now, there's a couple things here that I think are just slightly different. Number one, I would probably put 45 minutes between, because I think that would allow, assuming they get here maybe 15 minutes early. And if they're here early and the other interview is concluded and that the next candidate is here, start it. It just, you can just keep keep moving that forward. The second point is, I think being in the audience, and I'll pick on you, Cheryl, for a second, but a lot of your questions were, those were important questions to you to probe, and you used a lot of the same set for that, for those people, which is, I think, was certainly a good approach. However, I think with these candidates, there's a lot more diversity in their background and work experience. And I think, although you may have your set of core questions, I think there are questions that are candidate specific. So that may, to somebody's point, that somebody in the audience may be hearing something, but they may not be hearing, if they hear a core question from somebody, but they may not, a question that pertains particularly to their case, doesn't really affect what their future answers might be. So.
Cheryl.
Well, and quite frankly, you know, we have asked and should ask, we should tell candidates that it's a day-long process or whatever. And we ask them to, if they arrive early, to wait in the parking lot until 5 minutes perhaps before their scheduled interview time. So there's nothing wrong with asking candidates to do that so that they don't hear questions and have, you know, pre-formulated answers for their interview to some of the questions that they heard. So that is something that can be.
Yeah, that's an appropriate ask.
Along that line, why couldn't we just text them when they can come in the
Sure.
building?
Yeah,
You can do that too.
I think that's I don't think that's out of the ordinary. I think that's that.
Heidi, what's your thought?
That's a good way to do it.
So when I reach out to these people, that's the expectation I'll give them,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so then the last thing I want to cover is Zoom. Well,
See,
if
that's
I'm
another
a
thing.
savvy person,
I'm gonna be on Zoom in my car watching.
I am.
I'm just saying.
And so I think for our trustee interviews, we did Zoom that. And I don't.
Yeah, I'm
think-
sure we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we required to?
So that's what no,
Then
Zoom is
Optional.
completely up to this board at this time.
I think
And
for the,
so I wonder, should we suspend Zoom for these interviews? If some of the public wants to show up to see who we're interviewing,
Mhm.
then they can come show up.
I would agree. I think the opportunity to
don't
get an
become like a-
advantage,
Go ahead.
the opportunity to get an advantage exists, and I think it should be a level playing field on at least the question.
Only problem with eliminating Zoom is you're doing it in the morning during the day. So if anybody's working,
Oh, well,
If they're that interested, they'll be here.
okay.
I think this is one time where us seeking the best candidate outweighs
Oh, I
Our-
completely understand.
desire to include everybody from, Zoom land. That's my thought.
You don't even have to do it
And
at
you
an
know,
open meeting if you don't want to.
The
so-
audio will be running. And so if they want later to, after the interviews are over, if somebody wants a copy of the audio, we've always provided that. So if they want to go back and listen to it, they wouldn't have the video, but they would have the audio if that's the route they want to go, I doubt if anybody would even ask for that, but.
It's a good
Well,
solution.
I didn't, oh, no, wait a minute. I didn't say that we wouldn't record.
Mhm.
I'm just saying we don't send the link out. We hold that to us.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm not saying we don't Zoom it,
Oh, okay, you're just
right?
talking.
So we have the recording and we have
Oh,
all
okay.
of that for,
If
prosperity
somebody
sake.
wants to see it down
If
the road.
somebody wants to see it down the road, then
Here's the link after the fact.
it can be viewed.
I did
Yeah.
not realize that could be done. I
Yep.
really.
I
like
think
that.
that's fine.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
So, I'll just get to calling these people once we determine a date.
How far out are you looking or how near are you looking?
Open next week.
We are having a planned power outage here from 9 to 12 on Tuesday. And if they aren't able to get their work done then, their backup date is 9 to 12 on Wednesday of next week. So we probably want to stay away from that.
We want to offer up, well.
Just asking. Don't shoot the messenger, but we do want these to be in-person interviews.
They're all local. Every one of them's local.
Everybody's local.
There's no reason they
Off your
shouldn't be.
list, one
I was
person's
thinking
there.
more for our convenience.
Yes,
That's what I was thinking of,
Yeah.
not their convenience, ours.
You only got
Because
one in that's
Obviously,
Grand Haven.
Don is indicating next week, so he's got a sense of urgency.
you think?
I was thinking maybe June or July.
You'd be thinking wrong.
That's why I was trying to make this as easy as possible. Next week, here you go.
So
Let's
what
know what
dates next
happens.
week? Are we looking at Monday through Monday or Thursday so that we stay away from these planned power outages? Just to make sure we aren't getting caught in that, or what's everybody want to do?
That power outage throws a wrench into it, doesn't it?
Mhm. Unless you want to have interviews at lunch, take them to lunch.
So just out of curiosity, is the fire station involved in the power outage?
Oh, that's
I
a
don't
good
think so.
one.
You have the postcards in your box.
Yeah, and I sent them to all board members.
Oh, okay,
so
good. Yeah, yeah.
They had.
I know it has the address on there. It's this
It's just
address.
us. It's us.
Right,
And the
right.
lights and electric heat. Those were the two that we
Right,
got.
yeah, that's
So
here.
that's us.
That's us.
To open up a day or two. In this particular case. Would you consider asking chief to hold interviews in the ambulance bay? The ambulance is gone after 7 AM.
What's wrong with this room? I mean, other than it's not available, probably shouldn't plan anything for the morning of the 28th or the 29th.
Cause then
I mean, they're
everybody else,
probably gonna get it done on the 28th, but we don't know for
'Cause
sure. I mean, I
take
think
it-
this building is much more amenable to interviews. There, we're all gonna, we don't
okay,
have that many tables. We're gonna have to drag some things over there.
okay, hang on a minute here.
Why don't we do this? Go ahead, Heidi. Sorry.
No,
Go ahead.
just
Go
keep.
ahead.
Do you know how hard it was to hear that phone when Therese was in there talking to someone? For
Yeah.
me, I had to, so why not take it out of this building? Then everyone can work that has to work. And you're not interfering with their day.
Well, the acoustics are not good in that building either.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
there's gonna be no improvement to the
Yeah,
acoustics.
I agree.
I would suggest that, maybe we do schedule on the afternoon of the 28th and the 29th, and as a fallback, if we have to, we can simply move to the fire station.
An easier solution, in my opinion, would likely be
Do you have a meeting room somewhere we could use?
well, I was thinking,
There's one in the Casino Hotel. Turtle Creek.
Remember that you're not gonna change the meeting location at the last minute because that
Right.
would require a change in the notice.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
thank you.
the
So
location has
I'm wrong
to,
in my assessment.
yeah. so thinking of a power outage, what would that impact us? How would that impact us? We would lose
Microphones,
microphones.
computers.
Mine's operating on battery currently.
Oh, that's true.
Mine's not gonna operate on this is a 7-year-old laptop. It's not gonna operate on battery that long.
Well,
Does the?
There you go. Interview him in the
does the
park.
church
building,
have
Don.
any
Just bring him
days?
over and interview him.
What'd you say, Don? I'm sorry, I missed
The
that.
church have a meeting room we could use?
I don't know.
I guess we just can't use those days.
Okey-dokey.
There's lots of ways we could power up a single computer. Lots of ways.
Yeah, you just
But-
need a good battery pack
A
or a
single
generator.
computer.
Yeah, yours.
Mhm.
Yours
Could
is
use a
the-
generator.
Apparently can't operate on battery.
Well, I'm just saying the battery's old, so it's not gonna operate that, it's
Just
not gonna
just
operate
stay
all
off.
day with no electricity.
I mean, I've got a generator that could easily be brought over.
That'll be acoustically great too. Generator running outside the window.
Well, that's your concept. But maybe I have an ultra quiet.
Maybe you do.
Yeah. So
Why is Monday or Thursday when we are not affected by the power outage? Why are those days not, do those days not work for anyone?
Those are open for me.
They're open for me too.
Go for it.
so that would be the 27th.
Yep.
Nine AM.
Sure, starting at 9 AM.
And what was the other day? Monday and Thursday?
We get Monday figured out first.
Okay.
Okay. So if we start at 9. I think we leave an hour, so that's 9 to 10,
Mhm.
then a half an hour. Don, you recommended 45 minutes, but I think if we texted the person,
Yeah, I think that solves that problem. Just stay in the car and we'll text you when you're ready to come in.
so thinking about that, do we even have to schedule the half an hour?
I wouldn't. I'd schedule 15 minutes.
Okay,
I can live with that.
what's your thought?
I'm good.
Because really, the only reason we put that half an hour, we don't discuss the candidate
No.
in between, or at least we typically haven't,
No.
right?
Right.
So I think, I don't see anything wrong with,
Yeah, I 15 minutes because with the instruction to wait in the car and text them when they're done. Yeah, I think
okay. So then,
the 10:15 would be the next one.
that's what I'm thinking.
What I've written down, you could get 6 in on Monday if you had one from 9 to 10. The next one from 10:15 to 11:15. The next one from 11:30 to 12:30. Then you leave a half an hour break. Then you have 1 to 2, 2:15 to 3:15, 3:30 to 4:30, and that gets you 3/4 of our candidates right there.
And I would $1 to a donut that if you get 6 out of the 8 scheduled, that you're gonna be doing well. Cause
Yeah,
you're gonna get fall off.
Yeah,
There'll be 1 or 2 that just
yeah,
can't do it.
yeah.
So.
so.
And I would also say that, I realize, we have set these times, but I don't know if we actually want to put the times out there. Or if we do, then we need to stick to them, because if there's some public that wants to come for Joe Smith at 2:15, then we should not start Joe Smith early. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna put times, then I think we have to stick to those start times. You
Mhm.
know, in case we do have public that
Yeah, I-
wants to,
Yeah,
not other candidates, of course, but in case we do have public that wants to those,
well, if you
Okay.
happen to have, there's
Probably
probably
no
2
one.
minutes and you have to answer an email or a phone call, and it's a great time to just knock it out.
yeah, right.
So Cheryl, could you repeat those times again? Just,
Well, what I wrote was,
what would be the start, I guess, just the start times for the 6 interviews?
9,
Yes,
10:15,
okay,
11:30.
Okay.
1,
okay,
2:15,
Okay.
3:30. And that's allowing an hour for each interview with 15 minutes in between, except for 12:30 and 1.
yep, got it.
So if that gets 6 out of the 8, let's do the 8. And just stay long.
I could do that.
Cause you're
I-
giving them
I
one,
can too.
but you're giving them one day. I
And
guess
so
that's-
then
Okay,
we could use the Thursday for an identical schedule.
I thought you were suggesting we just,
I am. But as Heidi pointed out, we're only allowing one day. So we here could determine that Thursday would be an identical backup schedule for anyone who couldn't make Monday, because today's Wednesday.
yeah, it's kind of short notice.
If I get in touch with everybody today, which I probably won't do, that only leaves 2 days' notice.
So do we want to just move it to the 30th then?
Yeah, maybe we
else?
just move it to the 30th and then we
That-
don't, have to worry about a backup day.
Well, I think we should still offer more than one day.
I disagree, but I'm. can go with
Wow.
consensus. I think it's.
You got
it-
one chance, that's it.
It's a job, and I, you know. if you-
Okay, I
if
get
you like the
that.
job and you want the job, you find a way to get to the job.
Okay,
Yeah.
I get that,
So-
but most people already have their schedules set for next week. So,
Decision time.
okay,
Yeah, crunch time.
Okay, then I won't be making any of these calls.
yeah, I'm
Just saying.
saying.
I won't be making
No.
any of these calls.
So-
But the problem is, if we don't move it to Thursday and you can't get 6 lined up for Monday, then we've got, here where we're waiting 2 hours or something like that. And then, reconvening and all that kind of stuff.
Well, you could still have that happen if you had people scheduled and they just don't show up.
Well, that's true. We've had that happen,
Mhm.
So
We've had.
Yeah,
plan accordingly.
So I have the 6th interview beginning at 3:30 and ending at 4:30, Cheryl. So number
Yes.
7 would begin at
4:45.
4:45. And that would go through 5:45.
Mhm.
jackpot.
No,
You
FEMA,
got the king.
FEMA is wanting their documents. And so then that would, last one would be at 6 p.m. sharp. 8th interview. So I think that could be a long day, but it would be workable. Now the question is whether or not we move it to the 30th.
That's a lot of people to get in touch with before Monday.
I was gonna say, you're lucky if you're
It
gonna
is.
have.
I
two
wouldn't want to have
people.
to do it.
And I already have plans.
Right.
At 10:30.
Well, I'm just saying,
I'm good with that.
if you get
Okay.
two people, you'd be lucky.
So we'll move this then to the 30th. And we're gonna keep the same times, right?
Yes.
I would suggest.
Okay.
I'm wondering about noticing this. I can't really notice it if we're going to put candidate times and names on there until you have candidates at a certain time.
Couldn't you just put candidates and not put times?
Unless I just want to put, notice,
use it
park
simple.
manager interviews.
I think
As
generic
scheduled.
would be fine.
Right,
And
yeah,
to address your concern about somebody wanting to come see somebody interview or whatever. Then once I get confirmation from those people who are willing to come in, then I'll create an agenda
right.
with that time frame.
Okay, and it'll just be on the agenda.
And then that
Yeah.
can be,
Right.
There you go.
Yeah,
so,
right. The notice doesn't have to be specific.
okay, I think that would work, don't you?
I would agree.
So thinking about the agenda and a packet and all of that. Some of these people already have jobs. What do you think? In the past, we've always put the resumes online, right? Do you-
Yeah, if I do that,
What's the board's thought moving forward in 2023?
I'm not a fan of that.
Okay, Cheryl, what are your thoughts?
We've done that, but it is somewhat of, really is an invasion of their privacy, I think. At this point, to have those out in the public domain. I think we should not have them out there. Well, and two, and then you could have, candidates reading each other's resumes, and I don't like that idea either. And I think there's personal information on some of those things that, and who wants to
Try
go
to
through and
redact.
redact? I know, but who wants to waste time on that? I say we just don't put them out there.
Don?
I agree for all those reasons.
Yeah, I just, again,
It's a slippery slope.
We
It's
are-
extremely,
we are so dedicated to transparency here. But there is, I think, a certain time where we need to consider the person that we're interviewing.
how about just consider personal information?
All of that
They
goes under.
wouldn't have applied if they knew their information was gonna be splashed out to the public.
Another good idea, right? Because how many of
Right.
us didn't understand the difference between public and private when we first arrived? I'm one of those.
You know, the hardest thing too is you want to give everybody a fair chance. and certain things you could do might not give that person that chance.
So thinking along the line of somebody might not apply, thinking their name might be in public. I said I would create an agenda with their name and time slot. Is that still a good idea, or does that become even questionable? Again, weighing that balance between the public's right to know and the person's right to privacy.
Do you just simply label it as candidate A, candidate B, candidate C?
How about just give them a number? They all got a number. We talked 1, 2, 3, 4, and give them a
And
number.
I guess I'm just, yeah, I'm struggling with it too, just because this is,
To me, I don't think we put their names out there at all on the agenda. If people are super
That
interested,
curious,
they can come
sit in the
here,
room.
they can come to this building and sit in, and I think I think the protection of their privacy is more important than that
Right. to know.
transparency to the
The right
public.
to know.
You know, because I mean, the agendas are on a website and that can be accessed by literally anyone in the world. So, I think we should
Maybe-
not put them on there.
Maybe the agenda items will be listed 1 through 8 with just the time slots.
There you go.
Yeah.
Or just put interviewee number 1, interviewee number 2,
and I think. if you get
interviewee
questioned
number
on
3.
that, you could defend that. I mean,
I would stand behind that all day
absolutely,
long.
same here.
Yeah, I have
What's it,
not.
Don?
I'm saying if somebody questioned it, I certainly could stand up
That's right.
tall and strong on that.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
So.
for sure.
Well, you just throw it back at them. You know, if you were doing this, wouldn't you want it to be fair?
Yeah, I've not applied because I thought it would be in a public eye. Okay, so that helps me generate then the agenda. And I've got my list here. Good. And I will keep the board updated as to the progress on those.
Target is Thursday.
Target is Thursday. Does that
Yep.
finish our agenda items?
So we're still doing it 2 days, right?
No.
Or just Thursday? Just Thursday? Okay.
Don, you handed something out to us.
Yeah.
here.
I did, and
Um,
Tara,
It is a special meeting. Is this something that needs to be added to the agenda, or
I
did
think,
you have a different plan?
I don't think it does. I think that if
Yeah.
Cheryl doesn't mind just having a one-on-one conversation with me.
Right, yeah.
then,
This does need to be added to the agenda.
So
We can't add it
I think I can
anyways.
get some information from her on how that's handled.
Okay,
So,
under board comments and discussion, would you just mind explaining what this document is to us?
I certainly can.
Could you do that?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think we're in that portion of the agenda.
Okay. So, what I was trying to ascertain here,
By the way, are these 3-hole punch marks here?
yeah,
Okay.
because that my master moved here. So, what I was trying to understand and doing talking with a number of the preseason vendors for significant amounts of service, getting estimated costs and getting POs are the simplest part of it, because it's typically a one-time activity, at least to start with. Going through the general ledger and starting to realize there were other multiple vendors in here. And obviously the GFL we can handle, that's trash. But I was most concerned with how the park personnel was handling things like Gilroy's and Ace Hardware and I think I brought it up briefly last regular board meeting about like KSS on how, the supply order was done, the inventory was done on Monday, and then order was placed and the PO. I look at if the top summary, what it represents is that in the course of last summer, there were 23 Gilroy's invoices spread between facilities, repairs and maintenance, and operating expenses. 6 GFL, 4 Staples, 5 hardware,
Don't you have an
10
account?
10
with these people?
KSS, pardon me?
Don't you have an account where they just? could
I don't know.
sign up?
Heidi,
We
that's
do
what
have accounts, we have accounts with Ace and Gilroy's. And there are certain people who can charge there.
So is there a blanket PO then for?
No,
How does?
they
How does?
They let me know, sometimes it was via text and I would fill out a purchase order. I need to go to Ace Hardware or I need to go to Gilroy's and get these 5 items, whatever they are. And then I would issue the PO, they would go there, they don't need a hard copy of the PO there. Their name is on the list of someone who can charge at those locations. For instance, Brandon can charge at both of those locations. Brandon Hubble can charge, I believe, at both of those locations because he's picked up park odds and ends before. I can charge at both of those locations. Park rangers, not all of them, like Peggy doesn't. I don't know if she's on the list or not because she doesn't go there to get those kinds of things.
Cause
But there are
KSS does the
things
same
that
thing
you,
too.
Do have to go retrieve, and so, they let me know what they're gonna go get and I should.
How do
be
they
able-
know how do they know the cost? How do they know? So
Well,
if I-
they can,
I need a.
can just assign up to $100 or something like that to it. I don't have to have the actual cost. I just will put up to $50 or up to $80 or up to $100 or up to a couple $100, depending on what they're there to get.
Okay.
So no, we don't cost out every item before there's not time to do
Yeah,
that.
I'm just looking at
Yeah.
this and I'm thinking, how do you do
Right.
that? How do
No,
I
yeah.
drive to Gilroy's, see what it costs, come back?
No, no,
PO?
no, that's just a waste of time.
So Gilroy's has a master charge.
Well,
Or
what
master
they
account?
do is there's, they bill us. Just like Ace Hardware bills us every month. So, they can go up there with my permission, with the person who issues PO's permission. They can go to either one of those locations for something that's been approved to be purchased, and then we get the bill at the end of the month. And they will get a receipt, and those receipts get turned in.
Oh, sure.
So that they can be matched up with POs, but then we get billed and then we get a statement and they'll have 3 charges or 6 charges or whatever, and something might get taken back. And then there's a refund issued, if they got the wrong thing or something like that.
So
there's charges and refunds.
So Bobby's at the park and it's 4:30. And all of a sudden something breaks and we need to get up to Gilroy's. To get a part for $25.
Mhm.
And Bobby would then text or call you
Mhm.
and
Email,
or email.
Sometimes it's email.
Okay, and you're readily accessible. I take that point. But what happens
Yeah.
when you're not accessible, but that we need that?
Email?
I don't know that I've ever been not accessible.
Yeah, but
Actually.
I think
But-
what Don's pointing out there is that there's a possible change.
Well, it
right?
could be, and whatever you want to have your policy be on that is what you want to have your
So-
policy be.
Let's to answer that question, let's look at the policy and procedure manual. Because I believe there is an emergency purchase order provision there.
Well, there is an emergency purchase
Yeah,
order provision,
I
yes.
think
that
there
Somebody
is.
could go get, something happens and, the dump station's overflowing and can't be
Right.
turned off or something like that. I
Right.
mean, you can turn it off in the mechanical room, but, whatever. Yes, there is an emergency. Emergency. Mhm. People can get things on an emergency, but typically the things that, the Rangers would be getting are, fairly small dollar items. If there's some major repair, it's something we're gonna be calling somebody. to
Yeah, I
do.
mean, this first one,
Right.
everywhere from $4.90 up to $85.
Yeah,
So,
right,
I
yeah.
mean, the range.
Right, yeah.
And so, and the park's gonna have its own credit card.
Mm-hmm.
So that's gonna simplify things a lot.
Oh,
Whose name's gonna be on that? Did you get, well, whatever, you guys
Right.
are contacting Della, you have to give your personal information. See, everybody has to give their personal information for credit cards. To Della, so she can give it to the bank. So I'm not sure who you're gonna have,
I
For
would,
the
I would
park.
expect the Parks and Recreation Manager would have it.
That's what I would think.
Right, but then.
Or
that
it's in a
card is
drawer
gonna
or
have their name
safe.
on it, along with Whitewater Township, so whenever that person changes, then you'll have to get a different card, but, so.
See, ours used to just say the company's name on it.
Right,
Well, Alden Bank does not do it that way.
Right.
They have a person's name on it as well.
they do. And I think commercial accounts have changed a little bit, Heidi, on those.
So
credits.
in the meantime, how do names come on and off Gilroy's and Ace at this point?
We contact them and tell them.
We-
I have
you-
their home office number, and usually I send, or email, and usually I send an email and say, delete these people, add these people. Whatever, because, you know, we take the names off there. Now I haven't taken any names off there from last year yet. So I'll have to pull the file for you, and so you can see who's
there?
on
Okay.
there. And then who needs to remain on there, and then we'll take the people off who don't need to be on there.
You'll give me that information
Yeah.
for those accounts. What about Staples? That's just ordered through normal procurement?
Staples.com.
Yeah, okay.
Now, I always place the staple orders for the park, but the park manager will be doing that now.
So just to back up a little bit
Yeah.
here, scan that list of chargers in, because I think that's something the board should look at on a periodic basis, right?
Yeah, well,
Um,
they can, but it's gonna be really up to the park manager who they want to be able to go
yeah,
and retrieve
no,
things.
I totally
That
understand.
should be under their control.
And
Yeah.
that's why the
Right.
board should be aware of
Right,
who is allowed to charge. So
right.
just if it's a single document, scan it in, I mean, or whatever the case might be. Now moving forward on Staples. So, I currently know the login. And I'm not gonna share it to staples.com. Cheryl, I wonder if, as we're moving away from you being the centralized ordering person,
Yep.
can we just open up separate accounts?
No, you may not. I've already been on the Staples account, and there can only be one profile. So I think what we need to do is change that profile to something more generic instead of clerk at Whitewater. We
Right.
need to change it to, I don't know, something. And when then, but then there's gonna have to be an email associated with that. So, you know, you can change the email, I think, when you place your order. I think you can change the email. But there can only be one profile. I've already looked at that. Cause I too thought, well, everybody should have their own profile for Staples, but that's not able to be done.
So you said profile. I said.
Well,
account.
username,
I said account,
username. We have one account.
but what would stop me from
Having several accounts.
opening an account that says Whitewater PC? What
Exactly.
would stop it
Well, if you
from,
wanna open a
Whitewater
bunch of
Park.
accounts, I guess there's nothing to stop you from doing that.
Well, you
Well,
would have to if you're taking the responsibility. She's not gonna do it for you under one umbrella. Correct, Ron?
Yeah, maybe you create some other accounts, and then I'm trying to think, and then you would put your credit card number in. I think we're all gonna have the same credit card number. But. Do you have any other questions, Don?
No, thank you. Just because
Yeah.
there are some things I just ask me simple questions, but
Right,
there's some I just, from a process standpoint, I better better sometimes for more than one person to hear it. just
Well,
because
sure, yeah, I just don't want to waste a lot of board time on it.
And I can appreciate.
Some of it, you're just gonna have to do it to,
so-
get what the process is, you know.
The last comment I had on the Staples thing is shipping addresses. So your profile has one shipping address, goes to clerk, right? Park, for example.
Right.
There's no delivery out there. They're not gonna, Staples is not gonna deliver to the park, I doubt.
But it could be on the invoice and just be dropped at the front door and say park on it.
Well, we'll let,
I
So-
don't know, because there's not a mailing address out there
I get it.
at the park.
No, I meant
They
just
don't get
put
mail.
So
park
to-
as the PO and then when it comes here, you know, it goes to the park.
Well, for instance, Brandon uses the clerk profile to order from Staples very successfully, and he has his orders delivered to 8380 Old M72. They don't come over here. I don't
So
see
there
it.
must be a way to change.
I
that.
believe there is a way. You can have multiple addresses in there, I believe. So then whoever is ordering would just pick whatever address that they want it, physical address that they want it delivered to, but I have to check with them if they're gonna deliver to 9500 Park Road. I don't know.
We'll investigate that. a
Yeah,
little
you
bit.
can do that.
What I was gonna say is it might be helpful for Don to have the tax exempt form, a copy of it, in case he had to either open up an account with Staples, if that's the way we decide to go, I guess.
Right, well, I'll provide a tax exempt form,
Yeah,
you know, because it has to be signed, I would think by me, I'm not sure on that. Well, it asks what your position is, so maybe not, but I have it, it's all in a fillable PDF, and really, the only thing you have to fill in is the vendor's name, then you print it and you sign it. It's got everything else filled out on it. The
Usually they
reason for
just
the tax exemption, our tax ID number, it's got all that on it already.
And
So-
usually they just ask for a number.
Anytime we have a
Check
new
the number.
vendor, see, we're already a vendor with them, or they're already a vendor with us, but every time we have a new vendor, we usually have to supply one of those.
yeah, I think
So-
they gave me one. I had to go pick up something at Home Depot one time or something.
Might be, yeah. And then they have to be renewed every so often, because all of a sudden, you know, a vendor will decide, okay, we're gonna redo all of our, you know, after a couple, 3 years, they have to be renewed with vendors.
Hmm.
So whenever they ask for an up-to-date one, we just give them a new one. Yep.
So this is an analysis of how many charges there were to each of the vendors. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, just getting some, I was just trying to wrap my head around the scope of how many POs have to be issued and, you know, and to what extent dollar amounts were, what, you know, and my mind immediately went to the fact of driving to Gilroy's, pricing something out, coming back, trying to write something up to get a PO, and it just seemed like a tremendous waste of manpower
It is.
and time, so. I think is a lot of this becomes probably, I think, simpler, if we move to the credit cards.
Yep.
Well, but if you move to the credit cards, I mean, Ace and Gilroy's, they bill us at the end of the month. So you wouldn't be using your credit.
Right,
cards there.
and
Yeah,
KSS
You still have to get a PO.
Yeah, I'm not saying this
Right,
is
yeah.
a get approach, I'm just saying
Right,
some of
right,
this
yeah.
gets easier.
Yeah, exactly.
KSS
We do
Enterprises.
Set up with them, Ace and Gilroy's, we have accounts, Gilroy's and Elk Rapids.
Are they the only two that we have accounts with?
That's
Okay.
what I remember.
Take it.
Although, well, no, we do have an account with McLean's in Kalkaska. It's not very often used.
Do you not have an account with
Excuse
KSS?
me, Heidi, I'm trying to give some information here and you're just talking over me. That's very rude. So I believe we also have an account with Henschel Hardware. We've had some work done over there. Winterizing something or another. We had the lawnmower worked on or something. I don't remember now exactly, but, oh, the chainsaw. We've had that winterized over there.
Do you have an account with KSS Enterprises?
Yes, we do.
They also deliver Don, or you can pick it up.
Yeah.
I think we've already discussed that in a prior
I
meeting.
just wanted to make sure you had an account there because you spent $2,800.
Well, the park uses a lot of toilet paper.
I'm not saying that that's a problem. I just wanted to make it easier for him. if
Right,
They didn't
Don
have an account.
Has the information about KSS.
And
And
that-
actually, I came across an earlier and a more recent form, I think, than the one I gave you, that has some of the 2022 pricing on it. But of course,
Yeah, I don't,
pricing's all.
yeah, I don't have a form. I think.
Oh, you
said
don't have a form? I'll
I
get
think
you.
you said you had that folder with the end of the year inventories in them.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, I'm gonna give you the form in Word.
Okay.
So that you can modify that form, because there are things that, sometimes the park stops using a particular item. Right now, everything's on a one-page form and inventory form. So what they do, whoever is doing the inventory, it has typically been Dan, but whoever you're going to have do it, they've got all the items listed right there. And then there's a line, a blank line. Okay, you want 2 of these, 1 of these, 2 of these, 3 of these. And you'll see all the things that are on there, the typical things that get ordered. Some get ordered very frequently, others don't get ordered very often at all, but it's still on there with the KSS number. So that, you just fill that out. And, you transmit that, you just PDF that, email it off to KSS and there's your order.
So you're gonna email me that Word
Yep.
document?
mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a bunch of forms I'm gonna give you.
Okay, thank you.
The Word, document of them so that, you can modify them however you
Yeah,
want.
Rates and things like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you said Henschel's, so you meant Roy's General Store?
Yeah, right, yeah. I think it's Henschel's Hardware under Bill or something like
Yeah,
that, but,
yeah, go,
right.
yeah,
but it's Roy's,
it's
yeah.
the BP on Hammond.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I'll be giving you the gas card. We just got all new gas cards for all of the fire apparatus, and the park also has a gas card. And I believe you'll have to get, I think right now Don is and what that is, that's Fuel Man. And so people have to get a PIN. And we have to apply for their PIN for them from Fuel Man, and then we have a form that they have to sign saying they won't give out their PIN and blah, blah. But yes, the park does have a gas card,
And who
So-
uses that?
a park ranger. Any park ranger who has a PIN, because you have to have a PIN. And then what they do is, they need gas for the
Oh,
lawnmower,
okay, for the.
for the small equipment,
utility, okay.
right, small equipment. Yep. So they have a gas can out there and, they maybe get gas twice a summer or something like that.
I would.
They
think
don't
it'd
use
be
a lot of
petty
gas.
Cash item for the park.
They don't have petty cash.
You have a credit card, it'd be easy just to take all that out of it.
It's not a credit, well. it
No,
goes
no,
out-
no, I don't feel that. I'm saying if
Yeah.
in the procurement side of it, if we move to a credit card,
Right,
it's just because it's not a high volume, it's just filling up some gas cans.
well, then you're gonna have the park manager send a park ranger and have them give them their credit card. I mean, you're not gonna get a credit card for every ranger, of course.
No,
Okay, well, you can do it however you want. I'm just telling you how we did it.
Mhm.
Comes right on the Fuel Man bill, and then, fire, of course, all the vehicles are listed on there too.
Mhm.
And so anyways. All right,
So is there any other discussion?
I've got at least the answers, the questions that I had to the front of my mind, so I may have some more when we get reconvened in April.
Heidi?
Yep. Considering your staple idea, those books, when will we get on?
The what?
The books that you're working on? Just asking a question, because I gotta ask the question, so I gotta put it in a report.
Okay, so the report is I could not order because I didn't.
I get
have
all that.
credit Card credentials.
Get it.
okay? So I don't know where the credit card thing is with Ardella. probably hasn't moved.
Okay, no problem.
I
Thank you
now
very
do
much.
have the full credit card number, so I can attempt to make that order again,
Okay,
as long as there's balance on it.
awesome.
Right, and you were given that 3-digit code 17 minutes after you requested it. I gave you a copy of that email. So you've had all that.
I don't think you provided it in email, did you?
I did provide it to the entire board in email 17 minutes after your email came in requesting it.
Okay.
Yep.
Lightning speed. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
What about public comment?
Yeah.
Anyone here in the township hall wishing to make a public comment? Anyone out in Zoom land wishing to make a public comment, please use the raise your hand function. I see no one using the raise your hand. There's one right there. Hello, Vicky.
Good morning. Thank you all for your time. I'm glad we're heading in the right direction and getting the park staffed for what should be a great summer. I just wanted to point out something. I was part of a meeting yesterday and had made a comment about Lois posting on Facebook while she's there taking minutes, and it actually happened again today. So I feel that that should be addressed. We are certainly not paying for her to do Facebook postings. And I know that there's been a lot coming off the clerk's job description, if you will, not doing this, certainly not doing the park anymore. There seems to be an awful lot of time available for doing what the clerk duties are. And I guess I would ask for that to be addressed again. You all are asking for more money and less work, and it's not happening anywhere else that I'm aware of. So yesterday, a lot of things were done. I know that you guys are heading in the right direction. But I want you to be more fiduciarily responsible with our tax dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. I see no other hands up. Oop, wait a minute, nope. So now we can do motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I was
then
just gonna
at
say, what are we doing here?
11:23.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call when ready.
Bellmuth,
Yes.
Bennett is absent. Pop,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Goss, yes.
You all.
Meeting's adjourned at 11:23 a.m.